Okay, so today I'm going to show you how to quickly create a lookdev scene to preview your materials. It's going to look a bit like that. So it's like an hdri lighting with like the material sphere. I'm selling it on ArtStation for $3, but you can grab anything or your own assets to put in the scene, and a ground that fades like this into a black background. To start, let's delete the base cube and the default light. I'm gonna select the camera and put it in the center of the world. No rotation. I just want a rotation on the x-axis, so 90 degrees. I'm gonna grab the camera with G and hit Y, so I can put the camera a bit further back. I want to import the material ball, so let's go to File, Import, wavefont.obj, and I'm going to select it and click Import. So the material ball scale is quite big for Blender, so I'm going to put the scale to 0.01. So now let's look through the camera and just frame our ball. So by selecting the camera on the frame here, and hit G, you're able to move the camera, and if I hit Z, I'm able to move the camera just on the axis. And if you hit G and double time Z, you can move a bit like closer to the target. So once you're happy with the frame, I just want to select the material ball and add a subdivision modifier to it. So by default, it should work pretty nicely. Now let's hit Shift A and add a plane. I just want to scale a bit up the plane to, for example, 3 or maybe 3.5, like this. And it's going to be our ground that fades into black. After that, let's go to the shading tab here. And we want to add a light to our scene. So this is the default shading like light, but it doesn't render if I render with cycles. So I want to be able to select this light. So in the world tab here, in the color tab, you can plug an environment texture. And in the world tab here, you can see the environment texture node. So I like to select the environment texture from here. So let's load an hdri. I like to select the environment texture from here because I'm working with ACCG and there is a ton of color space and the list extends further right and there is no way to be able to scroll in that list. So by zooming out here in the node graph, I'm able to see like the whole list and select the right color space for this hdri, which is linear x709. If you're working in ACCG, most of the hdri works that way. After that, I want to be able to display that environment map, like environment lighting map, into these viewports. So you can just hit the little arrow on the top right of the corner of the viewport and hit send light, send world, sorry. And okay, I see it, but I want to rotate it to be aligned with my object. So you can go into the node graph here and hit Shift A to create an input texture coordinates and to create a vector mapping. So let's plug the generated output of the texture coordinates to the vector input of the mapping and the vector output of the mapping to the vector input of the hdri texture. And by doing that, it allows me to like translate and rotate the hdri. And I want a rotation of 270 degrees. So now you can see it's perfectly aligned with my scene. Just one thing, if I hit render right now, it's just gonna look like the viewports and I want to be able to render with cycles. So in the render tab here, you can just select cycles and this will unlock something here that is called ray visibility. that allows us to remove the environment lighting to be rendered in the camera. So if I render right now, I'm gonna see the gray background. And if I turn it off, it's gonna be black. So we want that. Okay, so I'm gonna turn down the transmission too, because if my object is, for example, refractive like glass, I don't want to like refract the hdri and have a black background. So it's gonna be black. So now to like be able to make the ground fade a bit, I'm gonna switch back to the object shader like tab here, and I'm gonna add a material to my plane. Let's add a shader, no, sorry, a texture, gradient texture here. I want to plug it to the base color so I'm able to easily preview it in the viewport. And I want to have a spherical gradient. I'm gonna add a vector mapping node like the hdri and an input texture coordinate. But this time we're gonna use the UV coordinate of the plane to be able to move that gradient and to scale it. I'm gonna put the scale to 2 and the X and Y location to -1 and scale to 2. So this gives us like a pretty good gradient, but I don't like how linear it is. So I want to add float curve node in between the gradient texture and the shader. So I'm able to like control the slope of the gradient a bit like this. And I'm gonna put that output to the alpha. So the viewport doesn't like it, but if you hit render, you're gonna see that now the ground fades to black, which is what we want. I'm gonna just activate here the viewport rendering, and I'm gonna put the base color of the plane to 0.050 and just reduce a bit the roughness to like 0.25. And right now we have like a fully working scene, and we can start like working on materials and having fun just with like our shading board. So it's a pretty quick tutorial. I hope you liked it. Let me know like your thought in the comments, and if you struggle on something, I can like quickly reply and see if the video is like good enough or not. Have a good one.